Our political insiders, Tony May, Charlie Giroux, live in the studio to talk about a lot of politics, but especially last night's presidential debate.
So they've certainly pulled a lot of lines, Charlie, out of last night's debate for today's time in these swing states.
A lot of lines for the last 2 weeks of the campaign, because the consumption of those lines will cover the last 2 weeks. But I think in the final analysis, what happened last night is that Mitt Romney sealed the deal by looking presidential, displaying his leadership qualities in full view to the American people, and moving undecided voters, women in particular, to his campaign. That was his mission. He fulfilled it beautifully. And now we go into the last 2 weeks where the ground game takes over.
We don't know the answer to the statements that he just made. He hopes that that's true. I think, but the other part of it is that these statements that are made, and there are so many words that are spewed out by both sides, it takes a few days to really sit down and analyze them. And I think that the big takeaway from last night in the light of day today was Mitt Romney telling the American people that he couldn't balance the budget for 8 to 10 years. That was
the president didn't seize on that at the moment that Romney said.
And neither did I, but I'm not. I am
but
not.
You're doing it now.
I noticed that, but I was surprised the president didn't jump in there.
Tony, today's Rasmussen Reports poll shows that among 11 swing states, Mitt Romney is favored 50%, President Obama 46%. Should the Obama administration be concerned about this?
Well, I think that those polls are still trailing how people actually feel. And the Rasmussen poll is a automated poll. We'll get more polls in the next couple of days. We'll be able to see what's actually happening as people really form their opinions and their reactions settle in.
Charlie, why would you say Romney picked up the women vote?
He made some calculated and strategic decisions last night to not play at his strong suit. The Libya question, for example, which was a huge embarrassment to the Obama administration. And if you scored these debates like high school debates are scored on points, he could have scored huge points on it. He made a calculated decision to be the statesman, to show his leadership qualities. And that's why in swing state after swing state right now, the column is shifting to Mitt Romney. Florida now pretty clearly in the Romney column. North Carolina, pretty much so. Virginia, 4 points up and moving his direction. Across the swing state board, it's looking that way. And now you see states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin coming into play, whereas they weren't before. They now are. That's all bad news for Barack Obama, and I think you saw his desperation begin to show last night.
And this is the talking points being put out from the Romney headquarters. Talk about how there's a change in the course, in the momentum, and we're going to be able to make our fantasy become truth as people return to believe it. I mean, we don't know yet. We have time to wait for a day or two to see what the poll numbers actually are.
They played. I'm sorry.
No,
they played nice last night. But did you think the president kind of was a little too aggressive with the statements about the military when he said, of course, we don't have as many ships as we did back in whatever year
Sometimes you have to give graphic
examples. We have a thing called an aircraft carrier that jets take off of. He seemed like he was kind of talking.
He was condescending. He was condescending, in a word, and people reject that. I mean, again,
did they reject it then when Romney did that with the president?
I don't think you can point to a moment, Tony, where he was condescending last night.
No, not last night. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Well, 2 weeks ago, Tony, it was a slam dunk for Mitt Romney. Even you admitted that.
But he was condescending to the President of the United States.
No, I don't think he was. I think he was deferential to him. He took him on foreign policy, domestic policy points where he was wrong and where his record was weak, and pointed out where the failures of this administration existed. And I thought he did it in a very respectful manner, and that's why poll after poll after poll.
Respectful, but not totally truthful manner.
Well, look, we have about 2 weeks left to go. What should both President Obama and Mitt Romney be focused on right now?
Well, I think they both have to go back and focus on their core messages. I think that Obama has to demonstrate that he has specific plans. Well, and it wouldn't hurt for Romney to give some specifics about his plans as well. Now that we know he's going to take 8 to 10 years to balance his budget, I want to know why it's going to take so long. He may only get 4 years. That's all he wants to give President Obama to do the same job.
Well, here's the key at the bottom line, Tanya. The Romney campaign simply has to keep doing what they're doing. It's working. Barack Obama cannot tell the American people what he's going to do differently over the course of the next 4 years than what he's done over the course of the past 4, which have been a disaster for the economy. As your package pointed out early on in the show, that's the issue that's driving most voters. That's what's on their mind, and they know that Barack Obama has failed in his stewardship of the economy.
All right.
But still, that was a big statement when Romney said it, because the president has said he didn't think it would take this long, but it is going to need another term.
It was a big
His
statement,
argument
and let's see if this sinks in with people in the cold light of day.
All right.
All right, our political insiders, Tony May, Charlie Giroux. As always, guys, thanks for joining us today.